All right, so let's walk the audience through it. This is, the guy's name is Jordan Tristan Walker of Pfizer. And again, this is their head of research and development, according to Project Veritas. And they unleashed one of their undercover journalists to go, quote unquote, interview this guy. So Jordan Tristan Walker is one of the voices you'll hear. And then you'll hear the undercover Project Veritas reporter sort of pressing him. And we have a few shots, so we're going to walk you through it. Here's the first where Jordan Walker talks about what Pfizer's doing to explore the COVID virus so that it can allegedly create a new vaccine. But what it's doing to the COVID virus sounds rather concerning. Here it is. Shot one.
We're exploring, like, now, you know how the virus keeps mutating?
Yeah.
Well, one of the things we're exploring is, like, why don't we just mutate it ourselves so we could create actively develop new vaccines, right? So we have to do that. If we're going to do that, though, there's a risk of, like, as you could imagine, no one wants to be having a pharma company mutating viruses.
Yeah.
So we're like, do we want to do this? So that's, like, one of the things we're considering.
Okay.
Like, the future, like, maybe we can, like, create new versions of the vaccines and things like that.
Okay, so Pfizer ultimately is thinking about mutating COVID?
Well, that is not what we say to the public. No. That's why it was a thought that came up at a meeting, and we were like, why do we not? It was like, we're going to consider that with more discussions.
Oh my God. Like, first of all, he's so giggly. This is clearly like an alleged date setup. This is generally how James does it. And so it's two guys out together, clearly drinking, and this guy's super giggly. And it's so fun that they're going to mutate the COVID virus, Michael, so that Pfizer can test new vaccines on it and then make more billions of dollars, one presumes.
That clip is also where this guy's excuse at the end that he was lying and just making it up on the date, it's where it also falls apart because he's so specific. He's so fluent in the way that he's describing Pfizer engaging in gain-of-function research. This is not the first time this has occurred to him. This is not just a thought that has popped into his mind to impress somebody on a date. I don't know why this would be impressive, by the way, to say, hey, my company is doing really nefarious things, the sort of research that very likely caused the pandemic in the first place. And then he says, we're not honest with the public. We're not telling them what we're actually doing, but this is very specifically what we're doing. And then, of course, when he gets caught, he says, hey, forget everything I said. I was just lying here.
It's all a big lie.
In fairness to this guy, I'm grateful to him for exposing what Pfizer is almost certainly actually engaged in. But two, what he's doing is no different from what Dr. Fauci did. When this guy at the end of the video, James O'Keefe, nails him and he says, no, that's not true. We're not engaging in gain of function. That's all made up. That's what Dr. Fauci said before the U.S. Senate when he perjured himself under questioning, under oath, in front of Rand Paul. He said, we are not engaging in gain of function research. We've never funded it. And then Rand Paul brings the receipts of the specific research he was funding. And what does Fauci say? He goes, well, and if we were funding it, it's totally fine. He got caught absolutely red-handed. And so I think, okay, this guy Jordan Walker is going to be held to account. I assume he's going to lose his job. Well, what about Dr. Fauci? That guy keeps getting plaudits and wonderful laudatory documentaries about him. He's doing the same thing on a much larger scale.
It's a good point. You know, I wonder whether this guy's going to lose his job because very few media outlets seem interested in the James O'Keefe tapes, and we're going to play more of them. And unless the pressure is put on Pfizer to explain whether in fact it's doing this and to comment on its senior executives, he's third in line from CEO, according to our look at the chart. They're going to keep doing it. They're going to get away with it, which is truly outrageous. Now, you are having some top doctors weigh in on this, saying how outrageous this is. We'll get to some of that as well. Pfizer, I hope, will be forced to respond to this on the record with whether it's doing this or not. Before we get to, because the reporter does say, that sounds an awful lot like gain-of-function research, where you take the bug and you find ways to make it more lethal or more contagious, and they have an exchange about that. I'll play it in 1 second, but first, let's listen to Jordan Tristan Walker of Pfizer tell this undercover Project Veritas reporter about the testing they are doing on monkeys, or how it would work with their monkeys. Sat 2.
Probably you won't tell anyone. Yeah. Okay, bro. So the way it would work is like we put them in the virus in these monkeys.
Okay.
And then we successively like cause them to keep infecting each other. And we collect serial samples from them, and then the ones that are more infectious, like the virus, we'll put them in another monkey and you just constantly actively mutate it. That's one way.
Okay.
Or you can even do like directed like simulation, which like we should not prefer. And then you just sample what the different proteins on the surface of the virus look like over time.
Okay.
So then you can see the mutation, and you can kind of force it to mutate in a certain way you want.
Okay.
But you have to be like very controlled to make sure that this virus that you mutate doesn't create something that it goes everywhere.
Something crazy.
I suspect is the way that the virus started in Wuhan. To be honest, like it makes no sense if this virus popped out of nowhere. Like
Yeah, I know.
Okay, we're all with Jordan Tristan Walker on that last point. Even though this morning, literally just this morning, I listened to NPR's podcast, and the whole thing, for 5 minutes, they're going off about how the virus came from a natural source. There's zero evidence it came from a Wuhan, from the Wuhan lab. It definitely came from a market. I mean, and like zero proof that it came from a lab. Where is the proof that it came from an animal? They tested 80,000 of them and never found it in any event. So now you have one of Pfizer's top executives on camera saying, this is how I suspect this man-made mutations, that the virus started in Wuhan, to be honest. It makes little sense. The virus popped up out of nowhere. Yes, tell the truth.
Many of us suspected this from the beginning when the official storyline was that the pandemic came from a bad batch of bat soup at the Wuhan wet market that just coincidentally was right down the road from the Wuhan Institute of Virology where they were conducting this research. I think those of us paying attention knew what this was about from the beginning. But the good news is, I think by this point, now we're pushing 3 years later, the public has seen the evidence, and no matter what NPR says, no matter what the crooked Pfizer spokesmen say, I think people know what is up. And so we no longer trust Big Pharma. Living in a country where you can't even trust Big Pharma executives, what has this nation come to? And so now the question for us is, what do we do about it? These are the people who lied to us about the origin of COVID, about the virulence of COVID, about the efficacy of the vaccines, about the safety of the vaccines, about the tests that they subjected the vaccines to. They lied to us about everything, the masks and the social distancing and the whole kit and caboodle. So what are we going to do about it? I think this is the part where at least the conservatives, if not more good faith liberals and people in the center, will go in and say, we need to wield the political order to punish Pfizer and to regulate Pfizer. And it becomes a big problem because of the issue of regulatory capture. Very often, the agencies that are supposed to regulate these companies are totally beholden to these companies or being funded by these companies.
Hold that thought, because I definitely want you to talk more about that. But I'm going to tee it up first. I'll get us there in the story as we tell the story together. So undercover journalist listens to this guy saying, we get the monkeys and then we successfully cause them to keep infecting each other and we collect the samples from them and we put it in another monkey and you just constantly actively mutate it. And says, so this is going to be something, we have to be really careful though, because we could create something like, that just goes everywhere. And that's when he makes the point, like, that's what I think happened in Wuhan. Now, this is crazy because let's keep in mind the people who we believe did it in Wuhan were Chinese scientists working for the Chinese government and with the help of Peter Daszak's group, EcoHealth Alliance, this scientific research group here in the United States that we all fund. But it wasn't a drug company who would stand to benefit to the tune of $80 billion. That was revenue for Pfizer last year. It's very complicated when you have the person who's going to fix the problem creating the problem, right? That's a bridge too far. Not to say it's not a bridge too far to have the others doing it. So here we are. That's the problem. Now the undercover journal says, gee, it really sounds like gain of function. Kind of sounds like the thing where you take the virus and make it more contagious or more dangerous. And here's that exchange in part. Saw 3.
I mean, when is Pfizer going to implement the mutation of all these viruses?
I don't know. It depends on how the experiments work out. Because this is just like something we're trying, right?
It sounds like gain of function to me.
I don't know. It's a little bit different. I think it's different. It's like it's definitely not gain of function.
It sounds like it is. I mean, it's okay.
No, directed evolution is very different.
Direct evolution?
Directed evolution.
Directed evolution, okay. Well, so, I mean, is that what it is?
maybe well, you're not supposed to do gain of function research with the viruses, like they recommend not. But you do like these like selected directional mutations to try to see if you can make more potent.
Yeah.
So there is research ongoing about that. I don't know how that's gonna work. There better not be any more outbreaks, because like Jesus Christ.
There better not be any more outbreaks. Correct, Jordan. We all agree with that. But there it is right there. It's not exactly gain of function. It's directed evolution, where we're trying to see if we can make the viruses more potent. Do you feel better? Is your business still using spreadsheets and emails to manage important sales commission? Why? Is your support and operations staff stretched thin and stressed out from dealing with all this unnecessary paperwork? Why? Are your salespeople constantly trying to piece together the puzzle for what they're getting paid on and what's potentially missing? That's annoying. This is where ClearComp comes in to make your life easier. ClearComp is a one-stop shop for your business to manage sales commission documentation, like commission plan info, product info, and facts. It's basically a sales operations and sales enablement dream platform. ClearComp works seamlessly and securely with your existing software applications for your billing, CRM, HR, you get the picture. Your sales team is going to perform their best with real-time results and earnings using ClearComp's interactive boards like this one. And your operations team will be able to make commission plan adjustments with just a few clicks. So please, get this done already, right? Stop putting it off. Modernize your sales organization. Improve your business today by visiting clearcomp.com. That's ClearComp.com. Book a demo and tell them I sent you. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.